Hello, welcome to Storybook Cottage. My name is Laura Ingalls Gunn. Every year I create a new theme to celebrate the Christmas season in our family home. And this year I was inspired to bring you a Tasha Tudor Christmas. In this week's episode, we'll be creating a lovely Advent wreath as well as celebrating the Sparrow Post. Now, if you don't know about this lovely tradition, Tasha Tudor created the Sparrow Post for her children. And Augustus Sparrow brought miniature letters to the children, often during the holidays and on their birthday. She had a drawing that featured the Sparrow Post that I framed here and described Augustus Sparrow as wearing a red vest and spectacles. I had this little millinery bird that I created some spectacles for. I felt he looked a bit like a sparrow wearing a red vest. So he is watching over our little post area here. And the miniature post also features one of her drawings, and the lid lifts up, and each of the letters inside to various family members has a gorgeous Tasha Tudor Christmas themed artwork. And so I thought I would share with you how I made these as well as how it's going to be used. So let's get started. Whether working in her gorgeous garden or shopping in town, Tasha Tudor was never without a basket on her arm. My friend Holly had given me these cute vintage baskets, and I am going to transform them with a bit of spray paint and some decor to create an interesting Sparrow Post. Tasha Tudor created the Sparrow Post for her children in the 1950s, and it was a sweet sentiment that was most often shared during the holiday season. And she created the original post box out of paper, and there is a template on her site which you can print out and make your own post box, and I will link to that down below in the description box. You'll just need to click on the words, click more. Now, Tasha encouraged her children to write miniature letters to one another and have it delivered to each of their small post boxes that hung on the handles of their bedroom doors. And so this really is a wonderful project that you can do and create with children. For my post box, I had this miniature post box that I wanted to somewhat transform so that it would look something more reminiscent of Tasha Tudor. So since Augustus Sparrow delivers the mail, I selected an image that has a little girl feeding the sparrows. It's a sweet snowy scene. And I simply just downloaded it and printed it onto heavy cardstock paper, cut it out and layered it over some gingham scrapbook paper, and I just attached it with double-sided tape, so at the end of the season I can pop it right off, and it just hangs from a simple ribbon. Now inside, of course, is where the magic happens. And I've created little envelopes. And on the back of each envelope, it is listed with the day, so you can use it as an advent calendar. And inside each day, there is a little message, as well as a sweet Tasha Tudor scene on the front of each envelope. And my husband celebrates his birthday in December. So in many ways, this is part of his birthday celebration. His birthday is on December 9th, so the first 9 days of the Advent calendar I have created just for him. So what I did is, a friend of mine had recently given me these vintage baskets, and they were heavily embellished, which in Tasha's world, she was not prone to excess. She was in many ways a minimalist, and I thought about how I don't really think that she carried a traditional handbag. When you see photographs of her, she usually always has a basket on her arm, whether she's going to town, gardening, or even working on a craft project such as quilting. She normally has a basket by her side. And many of her beloved Christmas drawings also feature a little basket. So I thought it was really a sweet idea to include baskets on our Christmas tree. It will also be Tasha Tudor inspired, and I will be sharing that in a future episode. So the baskets were vintage, as I said, and they were faded in some spots and they needed some cleaning. So I just gave them a light coating of spray paint. And if you would like to see the step-by-step photographs of that, I have created a post in conjunction with my website, Decor to Adore. And again, I'll link to that specific post below. And so what I thought would be interesting is to correlate with the number that's on the envelope. The basket would also have the same image, so that when Eric, my husband, is selecting his card each day, he knows it's the second, and then he'll know not just by the picture but by the number that is the basket that he is supposed to select. And inside the basket you can use a variety of things. They're large enough to hold a gift card, and I have included some of those. But you can also make it traditional in having it have sweets. And then on each basket, just tie the ribbon and corresponding tag. Now you can also go a little bit further. Some of the baskets say "Look under the tree." And small gifts that I have for him are wrapped in little bags, and they also have the corresponding artwork of the day as well as the number. So you really can just use your imagination, and if you get involved with your kids in creating the project, you can create a tray full of baskets and Advent greetings in no time. Next, let's make a pretty Advent wreath for the table. For centuries, people have been collecting outdoor greenery and bringing it indoors to add a touch of color and soft scent during the dreary winter months. And this was something that Tasha Tudor also did to her home every Christmas. In the book, A Tasha Tudor Christmas, there's a wonderful picture of Tasha creating her annual Advent wreath. And she hung it over her dining room table. It would be hung and lit every December 6th, which was the birthday of St. Nicholas. I am in the process of creating a wreath. They normally start with a wire base, and then you just layer on your greenery and clippings, secure them in place with a bit of florist wire. I have more of a step-by-step tutorial on my website, and I'll link it below. Now, for those of you that perhaps do not want to hang something from your ceiling, you can also create an Advent wreath in a wide variety of containers. This is actually my mom's vintage bundt cake pan. It is ceramic, and I have just stuck florist foam in it. And again, I show step-by-step pictures on my website, and you just continue to add various bits of greenery. Anytime I go for a walk, we have a lovely little park you can clip things from if you have permission. This boxwood is growing in my yard, and you just push it down into the wet florist foam, and that will keep it fresh for the month that you celebrate Advent. Now, Advent begins this year on Sunday, November 29th, and goes for 4 weeks, and you light a candle each week. Tasha made her own beeswax candles because of course she did. I don't keep bees, and my search for beeswax candles, I went to 2 local candle shops, and I couldn't believe that neither one of them carried them. And I was a bit disheartened, thinking that I was not going to have beeswax candles. And then I went to an estate sale, and I paid a whopping $1 for these vintage beeswax candles. And you can definitely tell they're beeswax candles because they have a very particular scent, and it smells a lot like honey when it is lit, which is quite wonderful. But you can absolutely use other types of candles, whatever color you want. If you want to add a bit of color to your greenery, you can tuck in seasonal berries. These are a beautiful pink, which would look so beautiful against the green. These are some sweet crab apples, which those would look really pretty nestled in. Or even if you want some faux red berries, that pop of color would be beautifully striking. Some people also like to drape red ribbon through their Advent wreath, and that's certainly something that you can do. And again, this is a wonderful project to make with children. I'd love to hear if you celebrate the Advent season and if you have plans to create a wreath. I hope you have enjoyed this episode of A Tasha Tudor Christmas. Next week, I'll be sharing my Christmas tablescape as well as a sneak peek of the Christmas tree. Right now, I am concentrating on, and there's our Grace. Like Tasha, I love a good short-legged dog.